Hello? Baby, tanggapin mo na ako. Pasensya na. I was good while you were away. Pabigyan mo na ako. Aalis naman ako pasensya na. Guys, nothing good can come from going back to the past, especially if that past is toxic, unclear, gaslighty, and just overall sketch. Because the point in which they blocked you is the point in which they show that they don't truly love you because they're not willing to be able to speak to you properly like a human being. And that is exactly the point in which you sell yourself short. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, contrary to popular belief, things can get worse. We challenge the lens of absolute closure that side government tells us because we believe that things like personal happiness, commitment, and fulfillment is something that you define yourself, and at a point in which you entertain the past is exactly the point in which you reinforce and justify those red flags and toxic behaviors that you were once a part of. It's high time to be able to grow up and be able to remove the rose-tinted glasses you have been wearing for far too long. The motivation on side opposition is very simple. We believe in self-respect and self-love. We reject the need for closure, and we flip the idea of closure as not being dependent on anything external. It is something that you give yourself. Yes, Carlos, thank you for joining. The speech is for you. I dedicate that part to your ex. People are often very irrational and make stupid fucking decisions all the time because they think, maybe this time it's gonna be different. Maybe I can pray and hope that they've changed, or even worse, that I can change them and ascribe particular new things to particular old habits. If we take a look at the context of the info slide and the speech the previous speaker gave us, it shows the complexity of that relationship and how it's likely to be bad. Here are a couple of features of our model. Number one, we think that at best, yes, history doesn't repeat, but it often does rhyme, as what Mark Twain said. Meaning, we need to determine the situation as both a rational and also hurt human being. Meaning, it's been unstable on and off. They broke up with you 7.5 months ago with no reason, and they also blocked you, which shows that they don't respect you or aren't willing to be able to talk to you that way. And it's probable that they only unblocked you and told you they're leaving because they themselves nakonsensya for something that they did, meaning they're trying to use you to get that closure, and that in and of itself is likely emotional manipulation. The third part about this is looking at the context of the relationship. It's been 1 year. Yes, it's something proximate to you and it's your first experience to love. But as an old guy, I think that's puppy love at best, and that your life ahead of you is what you have to look forward to. Because you're both immature. It's a 2-year age difference. You're in college, bro. They're in high school. I still call both of that immature. And we think that fundamentally, both of you have different interests and needs, and a point in which you throw back and answer that call is the point in which you drown both of you in delusion, and at best, even if you both want to make it work out, you make it inevitably harder for both of you to be able to move on. And if the previous speaker did mention and say that, hey, we're not saying you gotta get back, I question the upside of why you're gonna answer the call to begin with. And we think that if you don't want to get back with them, it becomes easier to move on and give yourself that self-respect if you don't answer it from the get-go. Our counterfactual alternative is super simple. Do not answer the call, do not text them, do not FaceTime, never answer it, stay away, bahala na sila, move on to something else, grow a pair, live your life to your fullest. What is my argument? Very simple. My argument is that by answering their call or calling them, in and of itself,
undermines your self-respect, it sells yourself short, and traps you in a very toxic and gaslighty behavior, which I mentioned in my pre-oration. It makes it harder to be able to move on if you want to, but I'll bite the bigger burden and say, even if you want to end up with them, that might be a bad idea for what I said in my setup and for the simple reason that they're leaving. Meaning, and listen to this, if you really did care about them at that time, which we think is completely fine and valid, you'd also want what's best for them, which means distancing yourself and not throwing both of you back to the very toxic situation. Layer of analysis here is that government side goes through so much gymnastics and framing in order to say that do all this so that you can move on. That is a harmful outcome dependency because the only case in which their side works out is that A, they're mature, and B, they're gonna respect you. But given past behavior and the fact that they only did it now after 7.5 months, means that they maybe didn't have a good time. I reject that idea of self-discovery and self-love of the ex. Probably not, bro. Maybe they tried going for someone else, sleeping with someone else. They tried moving on, but in reality, they're like, oh no, emotional damage. I'm gonna leave. I feel bad. I'm gonna call him back to give me that closure. You, as the proximate particular person in this debate, do not owe them anything. And even if you did, it shouldn't be at your expense. Because of everything that had happened, including them breaking up with you for no reason and all of those particular things, it's likely to be worse. What do we rather have? We want you to Shrek College, join debate, find someone else, but more importantly, figure your issues out, bro. Because as the info slide says, you might have parental issues and direct family relationships, meaning the point in which you became attached to them might be a displaced sense of attachment and commitment. You have mommy or daddy issues and you don't want to bring that to your future relationship or that current relationship, which may even be the reason it got wrecked. So, for all of these reasons, use your head, not what's down there. We are very, very proud to stand on side opposition.